Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be solving the Leetcode question minimum deletions to make array beautiful. This was part of the Leetcode contest that was just concluded a few minutes ago, which was the second question where you're given a zero index integer array nums and you want to make it beautiful. So an array is beautiful when the nums length is even or when nums I is not equal to nums I plus 1 for all the even values. And you can delete, and it's saying that you can delete any number of elements from nums. And whenever you delete something, it moves all the elements to the left to fill in the gap. And the other elements remain unchanged. And you want to return the minimum number of elements to delete from nums to make it beautiful. So you're given two different inputs here. For first one, nums is 1 to 5, and you can delete one value because you see that 0 is even and the next value is 1, which is not going to work because as given in the problem statement you can't have that value, so you have to delete this, and when you delete it you would get it to be beautiful. And then here 1 to 3, you'll have to do two deletions because 0 again 1 is there, so you have to delete that one. And then also when you go to 5, which is going to be the fifth one here, because 3, which is the fourth index, the next one is 5, uh, which is the same, and you can't have that, so you have to delete it, and you get the answer is 2 here. So there's a couple ways to solve this problem. The way I did it was using a greedy approach because I was able to find a way to solve it in O of n time, and I was pretty surprised actually when I came up with the solution because it was pretty much a lot of visualization I had to do in my head. And let me just paste in the solution that I did. So first of all, of course, there's a base case where we're just checking if the length is equal to 0, and if so, then we're just returning 0 because that's not gonna that's just a base case. We don't want deal anything with that. And then what I'm using is kind of like a pointer for the previous value, and I have it set to null, and I'm using integer here because what I'm doing is I'm setting it back to null to check the values because I don't want any if I set it to another value like int max or something, there might be that value within that array as well, so I don't want to deal with those type of issues. So what I'm doing is just using integer instead. And then I also have this value ci, and that is used in the end to see how many deletions we have, and I'll get into how I actually use this variable, but that's what it's doing. So so we're going through all the elements in this array, and what we're checking is if the previous is not equal to null. So at the start it's equal to null, so basically this is going to be coming into picture whenever there's an um, odd value, right? So whenever there's odd numbers, so 1, 3, 5, 7, it would be coming as null, not equal to null. And then what we check here for those values is if that value is equal to previous, and if it is not equal to previous, then we're just adding 2 because as I had mentioned, what we're doing with this variable ci is that in the end we um, delete how many ever values are in this variable to return with the deletions. But because these values are the same, we don't need to delete anything, so we'll just be adding 2, and then I set it back to null here because, like I mentioned, I don't want to use int max or something in case that value is actually being used in the array. And then finally, there's the else condition, which is basically for all even values. We're just setting the previous equal to the current value. So we're just setting that previous value and then doing that. So what we're doing when it is equal to previous is that this variable is not going to be incremented. So that means that we have to delete a value. So that's why we don't have to do anything in this else, because automatically in the return statement itself it's being deleted. um, and and this actually works out perfectly because we're only adding 2 every time. So one of the base cases that we were given is that num's length has to be even. So what happens when an input is coming like 7-digit um, length of the array, which is 7? So let's say we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is the input. In these instances, um, we're going to be adding 2 every time in all the odd value indices. So here in number 2 would be adding 2, 4, and then 6. So finally, when we get to this return value, even though we don't have to remove anything because of the duplicate thing that we're trying to solve here, um, we're going to get 7 minus 6, which is equal to 1. So for odd numbers, this works out perfectly. So it's just going to give us a return of 1. And for even, of course, this works because like if we were getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we're going to get basically 6 minus 6, like the same, and then we'll be getting 0. So this is how this solution works. And if I submit this question, you can see that I'm getting a runtime of 6 milliseconds and memory usage 94 milliseconds, and this is just an O(N) solution, which is probably the best that you can do for this problem, because you still have to go through the whole array to find out the minimum deletions. So that's how I solved this problem. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comments below, and let me know if you have any other questions that you would like me to solve, and subscribe for more videos in the future.